Fantastic. So quantum source code. The goal here is to really understand how you take your sales conversions from what they currently are, which on average is about 20 to 25%. If you're not doing that, then we need to have a conversation, all the way up to 50, 60% close rates. So we want to look at using quantum source code to increase close rates of conversations. This isn't necessarily a lead funnel. It's not a lead generator or a lead magnet. There's enough of those in the world. This is about understanding who you're selling to and why. Let's cover the next slide here, which is about myself and where this idea came from. Is that this idea came from working with many different companies in the personal development space over the last 14, 15 years. And one of the things that really was successful was the opportunity to understand someone's buying patterns and also understand someone's mindset level. And when you know those two things, the exciting part about it is that you can then target the conversation to fit that specific individual. And if you are having sales calls at the moment, you might notice and you might see that, if you are have someone coming in, you're having a demo or a first call with them, that conversation is really about a get to know you conversation. So we are precursing that at the moment and saying, well, what if we actually knew everything about you before we met with you? And that's what quantum source code is all about. It's not just about shortening the sales cycle and closing sales faster. It's about being able to give the customer a great experience, but also giving them something that's really relevant to them, that's going to solve their problem, in the industry. So it's two different things. It's buying patterns and mindset levels. And when you put those two together, it becomes very powerful in understanding who the potential lead / customer is and how you sell to them. So I'm going to run you through the old way of how it works and currently what's potentially happening in the market at the moment. So if you look at the current model that a lot of companies go through, and maybe even yourself, is that you get leads, you get them on a call, you close them, and then you hope that you're going to actually close those people. And you might decide, well, okay, yes, that's working for me at the moment. And this is not about replacing your system. This is about adding a predictive layer to your system. So if that's your current model that you go through, you're going through warm-ups, you're going through experiences, you're going through the whole thing, but that's okay. It's actually still potentially working for you. But what we want to do is make it really smarter, that you can look at, without increasing your lead base, actually look at converting more of those specific people. So this is the old way, and now we're going to talk about the quantum source code way. And if you look at the difference, it's not about replacing your funnel. It's not replacing your pipeline. It's not replacing any of that stuff. It's about adding a predictive layer as part of your funnel, as part of your pipeline, and as part of the experience that you and the potential lead and customer go through. So let's look at this process. So the lead is generated, they book a call with you, and you get them to do the quantum source code. Now, typically, this would be the model that works because it's not a lead generator. However, if you had a specific target audience that you knew you were going for and you were sending them something specifically, in other words, not a blanket approach, then the best way to do that would be to then send them to quantum source code first, and then from there, book in a conversation with them. So you can do it both ways, but I definitely would not send this out as a blanket approach to people because it's going to, it'll become expensive in throwing the net. But typically you want to be, instead of throwing a fishing net, you want to be a spear fisherman, where you're actually targeting the specific fish you're looking for at the same time. So adding this layer into the pipeline means that there's a part of the process that, number one, builds more trust with your customers. And I'll tell you why. Is because not only do they share the intel with you unsuspectingly, maybe that's a word, as you can tell, I'm smarter in different ways than English. But anyway, so when you get them to go through it, not only are they going to give you the intel about what they really want and need, they're going to receive a custom report for themselves as well in understanding their thought processes around their business or whatever the topic is that you decide. So, for example, if you were working in recruitment, if you were a recruiter and you were working with, recruitment companies or owners of recruitment companies, we know that there are different levels, right? There are individuals all the way up to large performing teams in the recruitment space. And if you were looking at this as a process, if you were working with, I don't know, corporate executives, that was your target audience. we would create a value report for that CXO level that would give them insights about themselves, their buying patterns, their thought processes, etc., as they kind of move forward. Now, the idea behind it is to add a lot of value to the actual test taker. It's not just about putting data one way into your database so you can do better. It's also about them as well. And that's really important because a lot of lead magnets and these kind of experiences that people go through, it's very one-sided. But we don't believe that. We know that when you add a lot of value to the test taker at the same time, they're going to trust you more. They want to talk to you because it's relevant. And when you have a result with them, it's also quite encouraging to show up on your calls because you're now going to talk about their results. You're going to talk about what their results actually mean as well. So this is what's really valuable with this process. Then you go through preparing a strategy, and you might be doing it at the moment where you do research on someone's profile online. You might be looking at, their audience, etc., that they're working with, or their recent posts on LinkedIn, and that's all fine. That's very, facaded or window dressed in a scenario. We're going to give you access to look under the hood. So you'll get access to a back-end system that you can actually see every single individual, and you'll be able to understand all the key points about their buying patterns, their thinking process, etc. And then you go and you have your call and you pitch it at the right level that you then tell them this is for you. And if you don't have the right product for them, we'll tell you as well. So you'll know that. So this is the quantum source code way. We're really excited about this. And this resulted in 3 to 4 times increase in results on average just by making a few small metric changes and understanding this as you go forward. So how does it work? Well, quantum source code predicts one of 20 buyer personas. This is really, the idea behind it is that when you look at the mix or the two different pathways, we have buyer frequency types and buyer mindset levels. So these individually are still very effective. It tells you about the way people behave or the way that people think, but it doesn't connect the dots together. Quantum source code connects the dots together of these specific individuals. So based on their results, we'll be able to tell you exactly where they fit within this matrix. And on the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about how the matrix all works. But we've got 4 different frequency buyer types. So fire, flow, form, and field. Each of these have a specific category that they work with. And when you look at the buyer mindset levels, we've got origin, momentum, vector, orbit, and quantum. Now, each of these are stages of business and stages of mindset because each of these different stages have a different problem at a different level. They want something else solved. And if you have one product or you have one target that you go for, this is very helpful because it helps you to understand whether it's going to be the right product for them, or you may need to adjust the way that you're selling to them at the same time. So let's run through what it actually looks like in terms of the 20 buyer profiles, or one of the results that you get. So when you look at the buyer frequencies, this is covering the point of how people think, how they decide, and also how they buy. And when you look at the mindset levels, this is where they are on their business journey. So this is about how you sell to them, and this is about what you sell to them. Is it going to be the right thing for them as we go forward? So let's look at the 4 different frequencies that we have here as part of this. So fire buyers, I'm going to read this and explain. So fire buyers move fast, they make bold decisions, and buy with energy and belief. These are people that really want something solved. They want, if it sounds good and it makes sense, they're going to be on board. When you look at frequency B, this is all about, buying through connection or buying through trust. So they really want to buy from you when it feels right, when it feels like they feel warmed to what you're doing. These are people that are really going to buy on that specific metric. Frequency C is all about evidence. So these this specific frequency is really interesting because if you have a lot of proof or you show that things work, then this is going to be a way that they buy. Now, typically, any business owner or coach, etc., could be any of these. It's not about specifically one or the other. It's just that when you go to this level, if you go into a conversation with them that's like, if you're behaving like a frequency A and you're getting into have a conversation with a frequency C, the chances are you're very missing the mark straight away. And we try to work this out when you go through the sales process, but it's also something that can really tell them this in advance and help them to prepare and send any details, etc., in advance to those people to build trust. Now, the 4th one is field. And frequency D is all about, big thinkers, long-term. They want to buy into alignment with their long-term vision and long-term plans. They might not be the ones coming up with the vision, but they are the ones that are executing on that long-term vision. So they want to make sure that their buying patterns and their decisions are based on how something is really going to create a lot of leverage within the ecosystem. So if you're selling something to this, it's going to do these kind of frequencies that are going to solve a quick problem for them, that's probably not going to be the right thing. This side of it, yes. Now, if we look at the 5 different mindset levels from origin all the way to quantum, the origin levels, these are startup people. So these are maybe inexperienced founders or startup people that are in a process where they are at the beginning of their journey. They typically will buy things that they are sold to very heavily, where it sounds fantastic and they really want to get their problem solved, and they think that they can make money from something. These people love to buy stuff that they know they can make money from. Typically, what we all know in the industry is that this is not always the case. It doesn't take, 5 minutes to make $1 million, and it really does take a lot of time and effort when you're building a business model. So momentum buyers are people that are building with consistency. So these people are, they have a team. They're in a position where they're starting to think about how they add responsibility to their team and share between the team or the structure. They're still the ones that are driving the momentum within the business. So these people are also super busy. So selling to these people is really difficult in a way, because they are looking for how do they get more business, but also looking for how do they really kind of grow their team to deliver on what they need. Vector level, which is mindset level 3, is really these people that are looking at scaling. So they are looking at how do they lead leaders as opposed to leading teams. So these people are fantastic where, they do have a little bit more time. They're pretty busy as well, but they're looking at now, how do I create a bit more leverage in my business? And these people will be fantastic for buying, products that really create management systems, etc., that they can move forward with. Whereas momentum are still potentially managing through spreadsheets and things like that as well. Orbit is interesting because this is where the real shift starts to change towards legacy. And orbit level is really those that are looking for handing over the reins. So no longer they are driving things themselves. They may have a CEO or somebody running the business for them in particular. And this is the level of business, which is interesting because most of these people do have time because they have the business running for them. And how you sell to them is by potentially looking at things that maybe they want to try out, they want to test, that are going to be really good. And if they work, then it's a win-win all around. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. And the 5th one is all about quantum. So this is really people that are visionary leaders. They're focused on creating legacy. They're focused on impact. They want to do partnerships and big deals with companies, and they have a long buy cycle typically. So this, for example, would be your big corporates or that kind of structure where, it might take 3 to 6 months to close one of these deals. But going along the way, if you connected this to the buying pattern of the individual you're talking to, you're going to shorten that time frame and make it go much faster. So I hope that creates a lot of sense in terms of the 4 different buying frequencies and the 5 mindset levels. And the thought process behind this is that this forms a grid of 20. So when you get a result, you'll be able to understand what buyer persona someone is, their buyer profile, and you'll be able to approach the conversation from that specific level to them. Why? Because on the back end, we'll tell you everything you need to know about that individual and how to approach the conversation with them as well. If you were smart, you could be really clever about the result and actually tailor the result set to them. In other words, you can send them relevant information that's specific to that specific buyer persona. Which is very exciting. And when we start working with us, the goal is we look at your products, we look at what buyer personas are going to be the right kind of products for that, and you can start to see a matching. And this will really identify different problem areas and things like that as well. So what does the calculation look like? Well, the traditional calculation of what we call the QSC equation is if you had 1,000 leads and let's say on a monthly basis, and you found out that 20% of them were qualified, you get 200 leads. Then how many of those people book a call? Maybe 10%, maybe 5%, maybe less, depending on how much value you add and the reason that people are booking and how matching the actual lead is. So let's say you had 20 calls. And if your current close rate is 20%, you're making 4 sales. And if your average product range is $1,000, then that's $4,000. So this is the traditional metric of of sales and the sales pipeline. But I'm actually going to take you through something different. I'm going to look at this with you, and maybe I need to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. That looks really good. So this is the same thing, right? So let's say you had, okay, 1,000 people. Now, the green ones, and by the way, I'll post this link and you can download it and you can use it for yourself to see what the difference could be. The green ones are the ones that you can change, and the red ones or the brown ones are the ones that you shouldn't change because there's a calculation in there. It's a very simple spreadsheet, but it gives you a little insight into how small changes make massive differences as you move forward. So let's say you had 1,000 leads, 20%, 200 qualified leads, 10% of them are booking a call. That's 20 calls booked. Your current close rate is 20%. So you've got 4 sales closed, and that's $1,000 per product, and it is $4,000. Now, if we were to say, okay, now if we looked at quantum source code and what this means as part of your pipeline, let's look at the difference of what it would happen if you just made a 1% change to your call booking rate and your close rate. You would already increase your revenue by 16%. Now, that's massive. That's a 1% difference. Now, let's look at it if we didn't do any difference with the close rate, but we increased, let's say, the call booking rate, but we didn't close, but we closed more. You've already increased your sales by 25% just by increasing your close rate by 5%. Now, what if we did the call booking rate? Okay, we've got 5% more people to book in. Okay, so now you've got a total call booking rate of 15% of your leads. So now you've got 30 calls coming in at a 5% increased close rate of 25%. Okay, you've now done almost 88%. You've nearly doubled your revenue just by increasing 5%. Now, this is what quantum source code is all about, and this is what the power of quantum source code really, really is. Now, typically, we would say that if you did send quantum source code to people that were taking a test from you that was tailored to you, and you had the opportunity for them to get a report that understood about themselves and why they should book in with you, let's increase that to 10%. So if you had a 20% call booking rate, and this is conservative, this is not like huge numbers here, but this is also not designed for huge volume as well. This is designed for high impact. So, and if we look at the new close rate, let's say you, by chance, you increase this to, I don't know, 10%, your new close rate. So you did, basically, a new close rate of 30%. Now, 30% is not a high close rate on average, on the global average of sales. But what that would do for you is 3 times your revenue. So you add another 200% and 3 times your change. Let that sink in for a moment, that if you made this small change and you were able to 3 times your revenue on the same leads, this is not changing anything here. This is just looking at it from this perspective that it's the same structure, just adding more trust and better close rates. You're really doing something crazy. And when we work with you and we look at your current pipeline and we do an audit of that pipeline, what's interesting about this is that we'll be able to see which part of these parts are working and not working. So we'll look at, leads. Okay, that can be solved. We can work with, John Daniels on that. That's absolutely fine. What about qualifying them? Okay, yes, still part of a marketing perspective. Okay, qualified leads, still part of a marketing perspective. Absolutely. Now, booking rate. So this is on a sales perspective. This is what we do once people come through the ecosystem. This is what we can control on the quantum source code side, which is really exciting. Now, write that down for yourself. If you were to increase your sales by 10%, your close rate, and you were to increase your core booking rate by 10%, you would 3 times your revenue. Who wants to 3 times your revenue this month? Everyone, right? Okay, let's go back to the presentation. I'll send this link later and you can download it and you can see what the difference will be in your business. Okay, so which pathway is right for you with quantum source code? We have 2 different approaches. One is a plug and play option and one is a tailored mastery or tailored option, basically. Now, how we work is there's a setup cost that we build a system for you. We create it for you. So it's your system, it's your data. This is not our data. We're not going to be using this data to do anything with it. It's your data. And I think that's a big difference for me as part of my approach from an ecosystem, because if you think about it, like any other system that you use in the market at the moment, it's their data. You are licensing their product, so they own the data. And that means they can market to your clients. And this is a real problem, but we don't believe in that. We believe that when you come on board and work with us, it's your client and your solution. So we charge a fee of just under $1,500 to get a standard or generic system that's tailored for entrepreneurs. Now, this is really interesting because you can plug this in straight away. The first ones of these are launching in January, and that's like setting up your 2026 for real success by getting a plug and play option there. Now, the other option, which is my favorite one, obviously my favorite one, not because it's more of an investment, but because it's more tailored, is $3,497. And what we do with this and why it's that much more is because we custom build the reports for you based on your target audience. So let's say, for example, going back to the example of recruiters, we decided together that the strategy would be that you wanted to give a valuable result to one of your recruiter clients. In other words, how do they scale their recruitment business? And it would be according to their profile and their result, etc. Okay, we could do that in a report and give them a really valuable result. That would increase trust in you that you know what you're talking about. It would give them something really valuable they can work with. Even if they decide not to work with you, it's still going to add incredible value to themselves and also differentiates you because you're doing something different from everybody else who's just trying to sell them everything all the time. Well, this is exactly what it is. $3,497, and you get your own tailored quantum source code system that you can use in your business, and you can start selling in January straight away. So where do we begin? First of all, thank you so much for attending this. I've really enjoyed presenting with you, and I've really enjoyed showing you the potential calculations and differences that 1% can make in your business results. But I would really, really encourage you to book a power call with one of our team, and we'll have a conversation with you about what this looks like. And you don't have to make any decision on this call. However, we really want to know about your business and how we can help you. And we'll do these calculations together. So these calculations we'll do together and find out where the problem is in your ecosystem. And even if you don't decide to work with us, you'll leave with really valuable insights in terms of where you can fix your pipeline and your process. So take action today. Really look at how you 3 to 4 times your revenue in 2026. Scan the QR code, book a power call with us. Here's the link as well. So you can go to ProfileTest.ai/power, get quantum source code, and become the smartest you've ever been about your sales. I'm going to leave this up for a moment and just say thank you very much for the time today. I hope you enjoyed this short presentation about quantum source code and a few ideas on how you can really evolve your sales pipeline and your funnel. And yeah, comment on this, book with me. Would love to meet you and find out all about your business. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend.